Good evening. Welcome to the Steel City Huddle podcast. I'm LeeAnn Lohman, joined as always by my partner, Zac Franciscus. I don't even going to ask how you are because the answer is crappy. What an awful game. I felt like the sky is falling. I'm so depressed. I didn't prepare slides tonight. I don't even have a drunk uncle because fuck you, Pittsburgh. The whole city's the drunk uncle. It was terrible. What a frustrating game. Okay, now that that's off my chest, Zac, how are you doing and how do you feel about this game?
It was frustrating, but I enjoyed the challenge of coming on today because I feel like a lot of whether it's Steeler podcasts or Steeler pundits are out there just kind of lick their chops like, all right, negativity for a week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, let's do the hard thing and find the positives in it rather than just coast it downhill. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm looking forward to today. Finding some, even if we have to dig really deep, finding some positives to walk away from this.
And look,
I'm sure they're there.
yeah, you and I talked about this a little bit before the show, right? That there is blame enough to go around, right? But you have to look at the big picture of this. And so we're going to do that tonight. I want to talk real quick about the little bit of news, which really wasn't much this week to talk about, but the big story is really just all the injuries. So Tomlin during his press conference today did address them. That's a nice thing about doing a Tuesday show. He said Deshaun Elliott is improving, but I would characterize his availability as questionable at best this week. Derek Carmen, same thing. His work is improving, his health is improving, but he'd be described as questionable along with Joey Porter, who continues to work. Said he just seen him back there in the facility working. He also said Isaiah Loudermilk would be out. He has a high ankle sprain, and that could be described as weeks. He said Alex Highsmith has a less significant ankle injury, but at the same time, he has an ankle sprain as well. He can be characterized out as well. So he said they did have a few guys during the game that got banged up with some minor things. Patrick Queen with an oblique and Darius Slay with a shoulder. It looks like they're going to be fine. Nothing's going to keep them out. So Alex Highsmith, super frustrating. That's really frustrating. I love Nick Herbig. I like Jack Sawyer. I don't know if they're ready to like step up and be the replacement yet. Although Herbig had a really good game, he's on my list as one of the bright spots. So we'll talk about that at defense. What are your thoughts about all of these injuries?
The one I was really hoping to hear more positivity about was Joey Porter. I wanted to hear, yeah, he's ready to come back because honestly, out of everywhere, that's where he was missed. There were so many times when it was just kind of pick which cornerback you want to burn.
Yeah.
And they did it. Because Jalen Ramsey, for all the wonderful hits and above the neck abilities that he has, dude got smoked. He looked his age a couple times. And the thing is, he shouldn't have been put in the positions he was at that point. And I'm hoping they learn. That's my biggest takeaway that I'm going to keep coming back to is this is a game to learn from. It's a gift this early to have a game so bad you can learn all the negatives you got to get out of the way. But can we learn from them?
Well, and you know what? I don't want to go spend too much time on this because we're going to talk about the defense, but we supposedly bolstered that room around Porter to improve that area of the team. And I definitely think Jalen Ramsey is an improvement. I'm glad we have him. This is not a knock on him. But even when he made that interception, I was like, oh, thank God he caught that. Because if he had not, he would have gotten smoked for a touchdown. It would have been 6 the other direction. And everybody would have been cursing his name in Pittsburgh. So, that's the feast or famine of the kind of talent that he has. So Relic is already on here bragging because he got cookies. I'll tell you guys real quick. So I mailed Relic his own book. So if you're watching the show and you don't know, Relic just wrote a book. And I mailed my copy to Relic that I bought from Barnes and Noble. So I want him to autograph it for me. And I sent him an envelope and everything. And I thought, well, he's going to do this for me and take time out of his day. The least I can do is send him some of my famous ginger snaps. So I made a batch. I packed up some, wrapped them all up in bubble wrap, and I sent them to him. And I send him the tracking info. And he messages me today and he says, your package got lost. And I was like, oh man, that's so freaking irritating. It wasn't just the book, it was my cookies were in there. Now some other joker in whoever Relic lives is enjoying my cookies. And I'm so mad. And he messages me back like a half hour later. He's like, never mind. I didn't realize you recycled an Amazon box. So he got them. I'm notorious for recycling my Amazon boxes. That's a joke around with my family. I'm always reusing them. So
I like the
another
cookies are good.
injury I wanted to bring up is Joe Burrow, because we don't usually spend a lot of time talking about other teams' nonsense unless we're making fun of the Browns. But this is pretty significant. He's got turf toe, which is, if you don't know, is damage to the ligaments in your toe. It's painful, and obviously for his planting foot, I think it's his planting foot, it makes it really hard to do the job he has to do. So he's going to be missing months. They're looking at like 3 months. He's going to have surgery to repair this damage, and that will mean that if it takes him the full time to recover, we won't see Joe Burrow this season. He should miss both of our games. Womp, womp, womp. Darn.
That's yeah. Because it seems like just a little bit the NFL is tweaking itself for us. They're like, the Steelers are struggling. Okay, let a bunch of other quarterbacks go down, because now we have coming up in order Drake May, whoever is a backup to JJ McCarthy, who I don't even know who that is, to be honest. Then we're the Browns, and then we have Jake Browning, I think, is the Bengals backup, who I just got in fantasy on the off chance dude balls out.
I am seriously rooting, and I'm going to make a fake Bengals account so I can promote this as a fan, that they should sign Jameis Winston.
That, you know what? That would kind of feel like a nicer version of the Michael Vick blip that happened. Like when that happened, it's like, oh, okay, this is really weird. Jameis, that would be fun. It would be a lot of fun. He would throw 49 interceptions in 3 games.
Okay, so the Vikings did agree to a deal with, I thought I heard this, I just looked it up, with Desmond Ridder. They were talking to bring him in because Carson Wentz is their backup right now. Don't spit your drink out. And they did bring Desmond Ridder on board to help make that happen. Relic is just poking fun at me. He said they're in trade talks for Jameis Winston. I love it. I'm telling you, I'm all in on that. And I agree. I don't know how they don't protect Joe Burrow. Seems like you should have like the Brinks trucks surrounding him at all times around you pay him. But what is, I forget the number. I saw it in an article the other day. It says like his 6th season, and he's had 3 that he hasn't played a full season. I mean, that's a lot. Yeah, I edited an article the other day that they were talking about it. I just didn't know if it had seriously become anything, but if it is, I think that's awesome. I love it. And I'm here for it.
A lot of people throw around the injury prone thing. At a certain point, for someone at his level, for what he means to the team, this is now a thing. Like, it is not is he? Joe Burrow is a injury prone player. That wrecks RG3's career. Wrecked because he
was just going to bring him up. I was just going to bring him up. It's the same thing. I mean, look, the talent is undeniable. But what do they always say? The best ability is availability. And if you don't have it, right? Like you look at doing like a fantasy draft, and there's so many players out there that are so talented, and you just think, oh God, Christian McCaffrey, I can't draft you. You can't stay healthy. I mean, there's so many guys that are so good, and you just think that this is a big risk, right? And he's rapidly becoming one of them.
Yeah, and being a Bengals fan right now must be more difficult than usual. And while I don't feel bad for them at all, considering we're going to reap a lot of this, let's be very honest. Jake Browning is not going to help the Bengals win long term. And any hurrah that they have in Cincinnati right now, they're trying really hard to convince themselves. That's going to be rough there.
Yeah, and this won't be new for them. I mean, they had another season where, they had made significant progress towards, was it 2 or 3 years ago, towards the playoffs, and then he got hurt, and then they wound up losing out on the playoffs. They couldn't come back in time last season, right? So I mean, it's just tough. And I agree with you. Browning is not the answer. I actually worry a little bit more about Jameis Winston than Browning, because we lost to Jameis Winston. So I do worry about that a little bit more. At least he's beaten us before.
That's true. No, but when it comes to Steelers playing backups, I will always feel weird about it, because we have the ability to make nondescript people look much better than they are.
I truly believe that Relic is right. Christian McCaffrey went on the offseason to some like back alley, New Orleans hoodoo shop and got like everybody on the 49ers team had like a little black magic pouch put under their doormat and they don't know it. And yeah, he's doing something because he is like the only one not hurt, which is got to be for the first time ever. He's,
Well, for
that
people who
that meme they do or the gift they do with what's his face from Fresh Prince standing in the living room and looking around and no one's there. Carlton. That's Christian McCaffrey right now.
Well, for any other Supernatural fans out there, the show Supernatural did premiere 20 years ago, and so we were all celebrating that. And I can see Christian McCaffrey doing some Crossroads Devil deal that happens every time in that because the fact that he's healthy is ridiculous.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Let's just get it over with. Talk about this game. So frustrating. So let's start to just talk about the offense. I felt like it was so strange. The week one game that we won against the Jets, we felt like we couldn't get the run game going, and that was pretty concerning, right? And the passing game looked pretty good, and we thought, okay, well, this is not a normal Steelers team. And then it felt like we had like the flip flop, like we had Jaylen Warren going off with some big runs. He had the biggest catch and run of the season. I mean, it was only 2 games, but he did have it, and had him looking good. And then you have the passing game kind of sputtered. We saw hardly any Calvin Austin. We saw DK dropping balls. I mean, what were your big takeaways from the offense?
That what you finished with right there. DK Metcalf, those catches or not catches were bigger than a lot of people thought. I went back and I rewatched it, and the amount of times that a drive would have been sustained or we would have got one of those are gimmies. What he dropped were gimmies. He made the big ones, and I appreciate that we finally used his stature in the red zone, but my goodness, you don't drop those when you make that. Maybe you drop one and then it's like, oh, get out of your head and do that. I think he dropped 3 and then had 1 deflected out later. We're paying non-Steeler money for you, sir. I expect more than that. I really do. So Calvin Austin, he's not paid a ridiculous amount, so that mistake, I'm gonna give him a little bit of a gimme pass on, but no, okay, you gotta catch it.
Did it feel to you though like the whole passing game was just off? Like it did to me. It didn't feel like it was just like DK, like all the balls were put in the right place and everybody was where they were supposed to be, and you just dropped them. Like when Deontay Johnson had the drops that year, and it was just clearly him dropping balls, right? This felt like the whole passing game. It was like they were like, that worked week 1, but let's not do that again. You know what I mean? We're going to try something different or whatever.
I think what we saw is honestly what happened a lot last season, where the offensive line broke down, nothing really worked. The difference is because honestly, Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than he had. He was able to make some plays up, but you're right, there was no rhythm because no matter what kind of passing offense you have, there is a reliance on timing it to some extent. Aaron Rodgers had none. Because I'm going to sound like a broken record again, but it wasn't just Broderick Jones this time. That offensive line just they blocked like 5 individual guys. That's how, and if you do that as an offensive line, it's bad. So just there was no timing. Aaron Rodgers was dropping back, and he was seeing the kind of ghosts that I forget the Jets quarterback that saw ghosts on the sideline, and it was really really rough watching that happen.
Yeah. And what's crazy to me was that I thought coming out of that Jets game where the passing game looked good, and I thought, okay, well, these guys are like just getting to know each other, right? So this is only going to improve from here. And then the whole thing just looked so disjointed. I mean, it didn't look like they were getting open. It didn't look like Rodgers was reading the field very well. Do you know what I mean? Like just none of it. And Seattle's defense was playing a lot of non-starters, a lot of string, bench players. And I thought, or depth players. And I thought, well, we'll be able to exploit that for sure. And then that just can't happen. Do you know what I mean? You can't be playing against an inferior defense and you can't exploit those. They did it to us.
And for anyone who hasn't watched the Steelers for an extended period of time, I forget the stat of how many 100-yard rushers we've allowed recently. That hurt my heart. I remember when the Steeler defense had the NFL record streak for not allowing a 100-yard rusher against us. That was
Yeah.
a source of pride. I remember how much it hurt to allow one, and we're talking over seasons. It's incredibly disheartening, and it's not like, oh, they lead up to it and it wears down over the right out of the gate again.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate. And watching the tape wasn't any helpful. Ours looked like our guys were on skis. None of our guys could get the yeah. So we all know it was depressing. So we can't.
Yeah. Relic brings up a good point about Freiermuth. He said, he's a Freiermuth defender, but he can't defend that beautiful pass on the run by 90-year-old Rodgers, and Muth couldn't hold it in. I mean, that's the truth. It just made no sense.
We became the kind of offense again that had no margin for error.
Right.
And when we played that kind of game, we're going to lose. Or we're going to lose more often than we're going to win. And I think I said it to you right before we started that I'm kind of not glad that we lost, but I feel we can learn more from losing this game than we could have learned if we would have won. And if we would have taken a breath and gone, oh, phew, well, at least we're doing a 1-1 at this point. That's an ugly 1-1 because I firmly believe we should have easily been able to escape these first 4 games without a loss. Yeah. It's a winnable game. If we end up one game out of a playoff position at the end of this will be the game we look back on.
Yeah. Well, the run game did look better, right? Jaylen Warren looked better. We're going to get to Caleb in his mistake in a minute, but overall, the run game did look better. He had that big 65-yard reception I mentioned earlier. It was the longest one through 2 weeks at that time, so which is not, obviously not that long of a period of time, but still a big catch. He looked like he was running. We saw him hurdle a defender a la Najee Harris. I mean, that was unbelievable. And so he looked much better. Personally, that was before everything fell apart. I was thinking, oh, this is really good. This is something to work with. We had that passing game. Now we've got Jaylen Warren is performing better than I thought that he might. He looks pretty solid. I felt encouraged by all of that. Did you feel like he took a substantial step forward in week 2 over week 1?
Oh, very much. To me, he earned a lot of points, a lot of trust points, because number one, he did all of that and didn't fumble.
Yeah.
Jaylen Warren of old would have easily fumbled doing that because when he hurled in I could see the football come out, and then I'm like, wait a second, that didn't happen. You landed it, and you took the hits and all that. I think he's warming to the task of what it takes to be a starting running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
Not having someone in front of you to take some of that off, because Gainwell week 2 was not as impressive as Gainwell week 1. But just overall, Jaylen Warren can hurdle a bunch of guys. I want to see him with a little bit more balance in that pass, because he's going to get some stuff open, and I'm excited about that. So big step forward for him with me. A lot of trust points as far as what I believed he was able to do.
Yeah. I felt like, speaking of Caleb Johnson, like that mistake he had. So the ball went through his hands. It went into the end zone. Seattle was able to recover it for a touchdown. I was like gobsmacked. Like I didn't even have words for it. Like if you're not doing really well running the ball yet as a rookie, especially as a 3rd round draft pick, right? Like I get that you're not getting that many opportunities. I get that you're still learning the plays, all of those things, but like fundamental rules of professional football, I know it's different than college. If you're working on kick return or punt return, you have to know those rules inside and out. Like you hear guys talk about it all the time, how you earn your stripes on special teams to make it into offense or defense. You have to earn your stripes a lot of times. And for him to make that big of a mistake, I mean, that was huge. And it felt like that really shifted the momentum of the game.
Oh, it did 100%. I think that was the second half of the 14-point swing against us with the interception that happened before. It was just awful timing for it to happen. I mean, it was terrible, but yet again, we didn't need shades of that terrible. Who was it that tried to do the sideline catch and didn't? I forget what his name is. They got
Who was that?
something ski.
Who?
The special teams player, either last year or the year before, who for some reason did like a sideline catch
I
of a kickoff
remember
and then
that.
threw
I
it
can't
back
remember
in.
who it was. Who was it, Relic? You'll remember.
It was Gunner.
Oh,
Gunner
Shefty.
Olszewski.
That's who it was.
Yep.
Shefty.
It,
Yep.
it
That's who
was
it was.
shades of Gunner.
Yeah.
And what was more frustrating about that is he didn't have any awareness of the moment. Like you can see him on the replay walking away from the football with his head down, like, oh well,
Yeah.
and people are yelling at him from the sideline. He's not.
It was
so frustrating.
Like actually, I'm such a softie. It actually made me feel bad for him for a minute because, like, he clearly just did not know. Like, it's not that he made a mistake. Yep. He didn't, whatever. Like, he did not know. And I don't know who you put that blame on, right? Like, there's a part of me that says, you have to know that as the player, right? You have to read your rule book. You have to read the league rule book. You have to read the rules for your position. You have to study. You have to know that stuff. But the coaches have to make sure you know that stuff. And surely they practice that. Like you would think they would practice that on special teams practices. Like this ball comes and goes through your hands and it bounces into the end zone or whatever it is, or short, whatever. And we're going to try all these different scenarios so you know what to do, like muscle memory.
Something unexpected I saw, though. There was a lot of Danny Smith hate that came out on like people saying, well, this is what you like, saying that he needs to be fired right off the bat, bring up the amount of like flubbed kicks or stuff that we've had. And so someone said that no amount of bubble gum he can chew can make up for it. I'm like, what? Okay, I know you're upset. Like, this is close to we get as a city treasurer right now. So just calm down. Yeah. So but coaching was an issue across the entire game. It was Arthur Smith had no idea what to call. It was very apparent that Aaron Rodgers took some of that into his own hands.
Yeah, it wasn't the best coached game. I'll say this about special teams is and I've always felt this way that you guys that you cut your teeth on special teams for a lot of players. You know what I mean? They start there, then they move their way up. Sometimes guys make a career out of it, like Killebrew, but that's not the norm. And so you have to be, as a special teams coach, you're constantly dealing with turnover, right? If you're the offensive coordinator, you can have the same key offensive players for multiple years. On special teams, you may or may not have the same guys, and there's a lot of turnover. And I also think that they're usually the guys that aren't the most experienced, that aren't the best at the position yet, or they wouldn't be there. And so I think there's a lot more that goes into it than putting all the blame on Danny Smith. Do I feel like the Steelers had a responsibility to make sure Caleb Johnson knew what to do in that situation? Yes, I do. But fire Danny Smith seems extreme because I don't think our special teams unit is bad. I mean, Chris Boswell.
I know not a lot of coaches would just be okay with a guy dictating his practice schedule, but for someone like Danny Smith to step back and say, listen, you know a bit better about this, that if you're going to kick the way you are, that takes character to step back from something. Mike Tomlin, please listen to this. It takes character to step back from something.
Mike,
in case he's listening to the podcast.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know. It felt frustrating. And then, I will continue to, and I have always admired Mike Tomlin's ability in the press conference to really not say a whole lot, because I think it's his smartest move. I know that people are angry and they want answers, but I'll say it again, there's no answer he's going to give you that's going to make you happy, right? Because he's not going to look at the TV and be like, sorry, Jimbo, that we didn't win the game just for you. It's just... So I just don't believe that there's an answer that he could really give that would make the angry fans feel better, because the reality is we're all just frustrated with the loss, and I'm sure he is too. And
yet again, the heights that a lot of people allowed themselves to reach last week after one game, that's a long way to fall to the second game. Yeah. So anyone who stayed a little more even keel, because I was very mad during the game, but then I calmed myself down because I kept remembering it is early in the season, and there's so much that they are going to learn from. They pretty much put a tape together of everything not to do. For example, don't put Keanu Benton as a nose tackle. Why? Because he's a tiny little fella, and he's not a nose tackle.
He is not a nose tackle.
That experiment's over. It is done. You did your thing. I don't know whose it was. There's a lot of things that I think as the season continues, we're going to look back and say, oh, okay, that fixed itself. That fixed itself. I'm sure there'll be some that are continuing things we'll work on throughout the season. But in my head, when I was watching the game, I don't know if it's justifying it or not, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, I remember I think it was 2007 or 2004 Colts Super Bowl team. The biggest thing that during the season, they had the league's worst run defense. Everyone's like, how are they going to get the playoffs with the
yeah?
And then the playoffs hit, and they suddenly just no one could run against them. And in my head, I'm like, you know what? If this thing happens and we are the really, really bad at this, because people aren't imagining it. If you think you are, this defense is statistically it's awful right now. But I believe it's all correctable, whether it's by injury or by a bunch of veterans that I just don't believe they'll allow this. I think at a point something has to happen where someone makes something work.
Yeah.
And what we just saw was a disjointed game without a lot of rhythm on either side of the ball. We couldn't sustain pressure on either side. And when that happens, guys who need rhythms to get going, maybe that's where DK Metcalf's frustration came in. Calvin Austin desperately wanted to make one play because every play counted. It gets into people's heads when you have, it's like when you're in a hockey game and you've taken 60 shots, but you just can't get it past the goalie. At some point, my dad always told me that these players actually get into part of their head that I can't score against him, no matter how much, and it starts getting in. I think a certain part of that game came and they were like, you guys are a better team than us. Regardless if it was true or not, I think it got into some of their heads. There wasn't the fight I expected to see in some of these guys. The kids say the dog and I didn't see that.
They did seem like it got away from them and they couldn't figure out how to get back into it. I guess someone's at my house. I wanted to talk about the O-line briefly because look, we've been giving Broderick Jones a lot of crap, and to me, Broderick Jones did look terrible in this game. I mean, not great, and you saw people fussing at him, but I felt like Troy Fautanu was struggling some in this game. I mean, for all the crap we've given Broderick, I mean, Troy hasn't been exactly putting up like all pro performances either. And so I thought that was a little bit surprising. Like I felt like the whole offensive line wasn't great. Like week one, I felt like there was mistakes and you could point a finger at Broderick for some that he made. This week, it felt like there was mistakes all the way around. And Troy Fautanu happened to be one of them. He had gave up at least one quarterback hit. He was flagged for holding on third down that led to a punt. He just hasn't been great at run blocking. I mean, to me, he's just struggling a little bit.
Yep. If I had to rank the offensive line and how they did, Seumalo did. He was the only one who actually looked like he knew what he was doing most of the time, but even he got frustrated. Zach Frazier would be next. Mason McCormick knows exactly what he's doing above the neck, but every once in a while, dude's slow, which is why he was drafted where he is, so he can't catch up. But honestly, Broderick and Troy, from what I saw, because I am not an offensive lineman. Yeah, I would love to hear from an actual offensive lineman on how they did. I feel they did just as bad.
Yeah.
That bad habits on both sides took over. More of the same from Broderick. So my bar with Broderick's low. He didn't get flat out beat embarrassingly too often, but that's because Aaron Rodgers is getting the ball out sooner. So I don't think there was that chance. But it was the name Jamarcus Russell popped into my head so many times when I was watching him. I'm like, you were just used to being bigger and stronger, and now you have to try and you're bored. I actually saw him looking bored. It's like he would do a push, and then he would stand there and just watch again. And I don't understand at NFL level, and you're on tape and that your coaches are going to watch it, how you can put that together. But then on the other side of it, Troy Fautanu was doing that a couple times too. There are bad habits beginning to develop in these young guys, and I don't right now know how much trust I have in this coaching staff and Pat Meyer to be able to say, okay, you can fix this. I don't know if they can fix this.
all I can say is thank God we're not starting a rookie quarterback this year, because I mean I think that Aaron Rodgers is so capable at getting the ball out that it makes up for and gives them some cushion they wouldn't otherwise have. And so yeah, thank God we aren't starting a Will Howard or something like people wanted to. I mean he'd be dead already. He'd be like the old cartoon pancake on the ground or something.
It was very frustrating because it was so disjointed. There was no cohesion. I don't know if they just don't talk to each other as much as they need to, or if they're not watching tape. But something is wrong with this offensive line right now. And I don't know what it is. But I know it's starting to spill over because I don't know. Washington was yelling at people on the offensive line. Aaron Rodgers was yelling at. It's bubbling over, and we don't need that shit.
Or maybe we do need it. Maybe bubbling over and yelling at people and holding some people accountable will help. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It seems to me like we haven't been doing that. So maybe holding some people accountable a little bit will actually help. Do you know what I mean? You can't have your fifth string or I mean a fifth round draft pick or whatever Mason McCormick was, beating out your two first rounders. I mean that's just crazy to me. And
Oh, he flat out did. Him and Zach Frazier were the only two guys that sought out contact. Even Isaac Seumalo shied away from it. And I don't. That doesn't impress me on an offensive line. Seek out contact.
Yeah,
that's what you are paid to do. You hit other people.
Yeah,
it was. So yeah.
Yeah, it was frustrating to watch. So let's talk about the defense a little bit. Run defense, better, right? I mean, it's fair to say it was better. I'm not saying it was an A or it was great or even really good, but it was better than it was the week before, is what I thought. I thought if we had won this game, if the offense had looked like it did week one and the defense looked like it did in that game, I'd be like, okay, that was an improvement, right? It wasn't great, but it was an improvement. But they're still just not taking care of all the issues that we saw in week one. Do you know what I mean? They're still there. I mean, we saw Seattle kind of got off to a slow start, but then they were able to kind of pick up steam and just kind of start running the ball all over us. So what's going to happen when we're going against some of these teams, with like Derrick Henry or something? I'll make sure I start him that week because holy shit.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I think I at least from what I saw is Cole Holcomb needs to be more of a part of this defensive scheme.
Yeah.
Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson are relying too much on their speed, and they're not getting good angles. And wherever TJ Watt is, they're running away from it constantly for the second week in a row. And that, to me, that doesn't say anything about moving TJ around, because if they move him, then you see 90, then they'll just move to the other side, because it's very apparent everyone who isn't TJ Watt on this team is struggling to really wrap up and tackle.
Yeah.
It was frustrating. But the secondary is what flailed the most.
Yeah, I tried to cut Queen and Peyton Wilson some slack because I know both of them were banged up. I mean, Peyton Wilson was like puking on the field, and Patrick Queen had some sort of was it a rib injury or something like that? I think a oblique or ribs or something bruised. So I know he was a little bit banged up, but I mean, he missed a sack on Sam Darnold than I could have made. I mean, it was like a wide open. They left him. It was like the offensive line opened up a lane for him to go get Sam Darnold, and he still didn't get it. So, and look here, Relic saying that. How do you not sack that dude? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what was happening there. That was crazy to me. I think some of those things. So was that they weren't feeling well? Was that they just weren't performing as well as they should have? I'm not sure, but they had no answer for Kenneth Walker in stopping him, and that was embarrassing.
To me, it's so much of this is on the defensive line.
Yeah.
That we were supposed to be so much better. And I know, Derek Harmon is out. This other guy, Cam Hayward, is a shadow of himself right now. He doesn't look. No, I want him to be I want him to hear this and to get so mad about it, because I'm watching him. And it's not an old thing. It has nothing to do with age. He can still move, but he looks like our offense looks like, just step off from where you're supposed
Yeah.
to be. And that was very frustrating because I want to see this defensive line step up and stop some of these runs, make some of these 6-7 yard runs into 1 or 2 yard runs, force some longer things. And once this defensive line gels a bit more, I think everything else behind it will start to fall in line because we can't rely on the secondary. Not like we were trying to in this game.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Yeah. Relic agrees with you on Cam. He feels like he sat out, he didn't practice. He come on, he needs to play. I will say that I don't think he ever really practices. I think if he had not asked for more money, he still wouldn't have really been practicing. I think that that's what happens when you're that age and you play professional football. So I don't think that that's all that uncommon, but I agree with you. You got to go out there and you got to make the plays and just get it done. I mean, you just have to. I had a train of thought and I totally lost it about the defense. Oh, you know, whose name I had to stay off social media the past 2 days for the most part because I just can't handle Steeler fans right now. They're just too negative. But I fully expect to start hearing like in earnest complaints about TJ Watt. I mean, this big contract he gets, do you know what I mean? And then what's this is how many games without a sack for him? Do you know what I mean? 6 or something? Is it?
I mean, right now, I think until the defense itself plays any better at all as a whole.
6 games, straight games without a sack.
And he is, if you want to take it a step worse, in his last 17 games, including playoffs, he has 5 sacks.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's because this defense, if you're not named TJ Watt, is struggling in some aspects. And if all you have to do is double or triple team TJ, which they are doing a great deal, but because I saw a lot of people point out, they're like, listen, let's look at the plays where TJ has one guy to beat or 1.5, and he flat out beats him.
Yes.
But when you know all you have to do is sell out, which is the same issues as last year, which is just as frustrating, then
look, if they're going to double or triple teams TJ, then your offense has to find a way to make him pay for that, right? That's what other teams do. We play the Browns, we play Trey Hendricks, you know what I mean? You find ways, Micah Parsons, you send extra at that person, and then you have to find ways to make them pay for that. And that's where we drop the ball, right? So if they're going to send all this attention at TJ, then we have to have the other guys say, well, now we're not doubled up or whatever. Now this leaves me a little bit uncovered or, you know, against a weaker, you know, lineman. And then you have to exploit that and go after them. And that to me is where our defense doesn't do a good job in making those things happen, right? We see lots of games where really good players get double and triple teams, and then you find ways to get somebody else involved. And that just isn't happening. Relic's, LeeAnn isn't going to like this take. I don't like any of your takes, Relic. Regarding Alex Highsmith, I love you, dude, but you got to stay healthy. Okay, we're not even acknowledging that. We're not talking about that. I'm going to send you cookies with rat poison in them. He's fine. He's going to be fine. We need him.
This comes back in my head to Terrell Austin. If you know that teams are selling out to stop TJ and you're a NFL defensive coordinator,
that's what I'm saying. You got to
turn that into gold. Yeah, that's, to me, that's gold. I'm like, okay, I know what every team's going to do to me now.
Right.
So that means everyone else, we're going to get fancy. We're going to start doing some stunts on the offensive line where it's not about move TJ around and create magic. It's use the other 10 players that aren't TJ. And that, what a fun challenge. That's the amount of defensive coordinators in the NFL that would love that kind of a challenge.
Right.
That right now Terrell Austin is not living up to.
Yeah.
It's not up to the players.
Yeah, I'm not happy with that. And I think there's got to be a component of it where you say to your guys, like, look, you know, it feels like TJ gets all this attention, right? Because he does generally bring star power to the game, right? That's what you expect from him. I understand it. The splash hasn't been there recently, but that's what you expect from him. And yes, that gets him all of this attention, but this is your opportunity to step up and make them play, right? So if TJ's distracting them, this is your chance, Jack Sawyer, Alex Highsmith, you know, Herbig, whomever it is, even some of the defensive line players to come in and destroy things. I did think Jack Sawyer looked good. Yeah. And I thought Nick Herbig, I was really impressed with Herbig. I thought he had a good game considering he was coming off an injury.
I am so glad I got to see Jack Sawyer in that kind of an environment, because while I was watching his tape multiple times out loud to no one, I said, wow, this wasn't bigger than you. Like, he rose to that. And a lot of times guys like him who have been in a college atmosphere, and the moment they realize the NFL is a bit bigger, you can see the panic.
Yeah.
He was just solid. Like, he didn't make any like game wrecking things, but I will say, I hope that he saw on tape he needs to go to an offensive lineman and learn how to block, because that Nick Herbig should have been a touchdown. But if that's your worst part, that you don't know how to block on a, then that is fine.
Well, that's learnable. That's a totally learnable thing. Definitely looks like he's got the hunger, he's got the desire, he's got the drive and all of those things. And that's the stuff that's hard to teach somebody. You can't teach somebody to want it.
Yeah, if I was Mike Tomlin, I would put all of these things. I would put Nick Herbig's tape. I would put Jack Sawyer's tape and all this together and just play them and look at the veterans and say, there is no reason I shouldn't be playing him in front of you. And bring up paychecks, bring up whatever you have to start getting under people's skin, that's saying people who I could replace you with are starting to play better than you.
Yeah.
And so start doing that, because that's supposed to be like Tomlin's gig, right? Like, that's his thing, meeting players where they are, talking to them as human beings and football players. And if you can't rise to this now, not just your coaching staff, but that's going to be more frustrating than anything. This is your chance right here.
Tomlin is known to be that guy too, that helps players, like that next man up mentality, right? Like, the two dogs, one bone, next man up, it's always whatever, you're all professional players and all those things. And so this to me is where you got to get those young guys pumped up and encouraged and really involved and active, and I think we've started to see some of that on offense, and we need to start seeing a little bit more of that on defense. I mean, I expect it from Peyton Wilson because we saw it from him last year, but from Sawyer, from those guys, and then hopefully, from Derek Harmon when he returns.
And we have the depth and the guys who can make not just splash plays, but consistent plays to start being more rotational. I don't care how much you make. I don't care if Patrick Queen's making that much money. Cole Holcomb is playing much better in certain situations.
Yeah.
I start switching some people out, moving. Snap counts need to go down if they need. There were certain players that brought energy that hasn't been on that defense, like Jack Sawyer and Nick Herbig, like we were saying. They brought an energy that has been sorely lacking. Yeah. And I want to see more of that.
Yeah. Relic brought up the wide receiver we signed today, and I had that on my list because, one of the things Tomlin said today during the press conference when he was asked about Caleb Johnson was kind of like, he's not getting right back there right away. He's going to have to kind of earn his way back. And he did say, I believe in him. I believe he's got the talent, I all of those, but he's got to earn his way back there. So then they go out and they sign this wide receiver, Isaiah Hodgkins. He was with the Bills, and bring him on board. It's a good depth piece. He was split his time with 4 seasons, 2 with the Bills, 2 with the Giants. His best season was in 2022 when he got 37 passes for 400 yards and 4 scores. He's going to be depth in Pittsburgh. So I saw some scuttle about people bringing him in to be the new kick returner, because they're obviously going to change some things up on special teams. I'd be really surprised if that was his role, because he's never done any kick returning in his career. So I don't, look, neither did Caleb Johnson before we stuck him back there. But I just don't think that that's quite the different direction that they're going to go in. But we needed depth in wide receiver room anyway, so he provides that. So here he comes.
Well, let's. I really hope the Steelers.
And that may not be it. There could still be more wide receiver signings. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't another one.
Because we have a lot of, very similar to last season a bit, we have a lot of depth pieces and not a lot of guys that are standing out. And I don't mind if we keep signing and cutting until we find someone who stands out.
Yeah.
It's early in the season. This is when you do this.
Yeah.
So all I ask is that
Water
by
me.
the time we play the Vikings, the
Right.
Steelers are ready to score 52 points. That's all I
Yeah.
ask. It's a small thing to ask.
Yeah. Relic says, did you guys see that the Seahawks did the same play as the Jets did? Jets came out in two wing condensed split. So did the Seahawks. We responded with a cover one high safety. Yes.
Same play.
Yeah.
Same play again.
Why not?
And it's there's too much carryover from what we saw at the end of last season to the beginning of this one that, I mean, we're doing a lot of things differently than the Steelers have in the past. At what point, how do we need another game where we allow 500 yards to a team before we say maybe Terrell Austin isn't the answer? Maybe we need someone who's been a defensive coordinator somewhere else. So personnel changes happen a lot quicker in a lot of other places. And if this happens I'll say by the bye week, if it hasn't improved defensively, even if we win, I'll be fully on board with the Terrell Austin needs to be sent to greener pastures.
It won't happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because he's Mike Tomlin's patsy, because Mike Tomlin really runs our defense, not Terrell Austin. I mean, I think he gives input, right? I don't think that Mike Tomlin does everything, but I think the bulk of it is Tomlin's defense. And I think that Terrell Austin is his patsy. I don't think they don't fire people during the season typically. I think Matt Canada was a one-off and fans got all excited and thought this would become like a regular part of our thing when they don't like coaches that will just fire him. But the reality was that Canada had sucked for 2.5 years before we finally got rid of him when it was so bad, like so bad you couldn't ignore it anymore. Teams are like, we know what you're going to call.
Yeah, and when I think it was Pat McAfee College game day, the chance of fire at random college campuses, that got
at the Penguins games. At the Penguins games, and to unrelated, it's not even the same sport. And they're cheering, sell the team, Bob, and fire Matt Canada.
There you go. Yeah. So
yeah, both valid. I mean, maybe we try to get on Nutting and get him to sell the Pirates. That would be excellent. Do you feel that this team, through 2 games, do you feel that we are better or worse than the team that shit the bed for 5 games at the end of last season?
No, I still think we're better. Offensively, defensively, it's I honestly can't say. I do know that if I feel we played the Ravens in the kind of environment we played them in the playoffs last year, we would get just manhandled again on defense. Yeah. There's not a single thing I've seen that can prove me otherwise right now on tape. But offensively, might be able to keep up with them a little more.
Yeah.
That's the difference, because last year we would be 0-2.
Yeah.
Right now, no question. We're 1-1 because Aaron Rodgers is willing a little bit of that into happening.
Yeah. So. I think that's fair. Relic says Canada was so bad that to this day we don't know what he's doing. I fully believe that his wife works and he can't show his face in public. Which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that at all if the man wants to stay at home. I don't even know if they have little kids or if he's just watching the dog or Days of Our Lives. But I mean, really, what can you do when you failed that badly?
Yeah, I don't
hire him back at college.
I have no idea what he did. Yeah, because he just kind of left. We were also glad that we just kind of washed our hands up. We're like, okay, thank God we're done with that.
Yeah,
but it's
Mom says play more Herbert.
Yep, and I
totally
that's where all of this hinges on. It's we have the tape to learn from. Can you do it?
Yeah.
And it seems simple. It seems so incredibly simple, but we've seen so often in the past, especially with Mike Tomlin, where we're like, there it is. It's staring you in the face. All of us know what changed for me. He comes out and he's like, I know what you're going to ask for. We're going to practice in shoulder pads.
Right.
We're like, no, that's not what we meant.
I got the answer to everything. This answer, shoulder pads fix everything. Padded practice is the answer. It's 1984, and I'm providing physical punishment because that's how Young men learn best.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. It's so, can Mike Tomlin learn? Because we pretty much sold out in as far as every Steeler term to win this season. So it's now 1-1 does not mean everything's unacceptable. The amount of people going back and saying, "Hey, last time we started 1-1 with this, we did this." I'm like, "Oh,
I
okay, that has
know.
no bearing." But it is a long season. We have an early bye week, and if I hope I'm knock on whatever I need to. But if we go into the bye week, what, 2-2, or hopefully not worse than that, that bye week is going to be the perfect spot.
Yeah, to
So,
make some changes. Hopefully, we
yep.
make some adjustments because we certainly don't make them at halftime. So, hopefully, we make something on the bye week because, man, I am so frustrated when we come back from the half and everything just looks exactly the same. That is so frustrating.
Yeah, there was I don't feel like but either Arthur or Terrell Austin are up for what it would have required to bounce back last time. It
Yeah.
takes a wildly impressive NFL coordinator on either side of the ball to take a complete lack of rhythm and still be able to do something with that.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, but we get to after this, we just get to put it behind us, and
Yeah.
it was just a game that we'll refer back to. And I mean, come on, it's the Patriots. There's just saying it's sitting right. These next like 4 games are just lined up for you to fix
Yeah.
things. The ship is right there to be righted. But we also remember there's been times where we're like, oh, look at the stretch of games coming up. This seems perfect for us to win a bunch.
I
And
can't
we
I
don't.
can't do the conversation all week about how we play down to teams.
Oh,
I just can't do it. I
no.
won't engage in it with
No.
people. I can't do it right now. It's too painful. Look,
And
you're
it's
right. The Patriots are the perfect bounce back team for us, right? They're not that good. They're a little bit on the rise, so I mean they're not terrible. So I think they're going to present some challenges, and I think we just have to not be cocky and just go in there and play really solid football and figure out what works for this offense and defense and get our feet back under us. And then you have something to build upon. After the game was over, I pouted a bunch. And then I said to myself, look, odds are you're going to lose a game at some point in the early part of the season, right? You're not typically going to go 17-0. That's unusual. So you're usually going to lose a game. Look at Kansas City. I mean, look at the shape they're in, right? So you're going to lose a
yeah.
game. You're going to be frustrated, and what really matters is how it all ends. You have to take whatever that is from that game and turn it into a learning experience and grow from it and get better. So if they can bounce back, I'd rather they got this loss out of them system now, the beginning of the season, to a non-divisional team or a non-conference team, get it out of their system and move on and play better football.
Yeah, I don't see how you can't. I genuinely don't know how you can't go up from there.
Right.
So there's
You have
yeah,
to.
and it's like I said, I've said this before. I don't take the NFL seriously until like week 4 or 5. Sometimes even
Right.
later in that, we have no idea what teams, right? Because you brought up the play down to bad teams, or honestly, at this point, we don't know who the bad teams are.
We
No
don't
clue at
even
the end of the
know
season who's going to
we
end up
don't even
being
know how to
amazing.
play well enough together to play up or down to anybody yet. Like they haven't even figured that out yet. So I agree with you. I think that that's a silly notion, but that's where the fan base goes because it does feel like our team has a history of that. Relic says he doesn't. He says we do not play down to bad teams. Our coaching staff calls bad plays or doesn't adjust to hot teams. Agreed. Agreed. Call it what you want. At the end, we lose.
Yeah, I will say about um there. Oh, my train is. Oh no, for the Ireland thing. Luckily, we're there for a couple of days, so even if it doesn't go our way there, then there's a lot of distractions around there.
Right. You
But
have other fun things to do. It's an experience, right? But I hope that winning is part of that experience because man, it sucks to go away and then lose.
it is. But like it's really really early in the season, and this
Yeah.
what I don't like is the amount of people and some of them former football players that came out and said, "Well, the reason that I'm so frustrated is because the reason you go out and sign veterans is because they shouldn't take this long to gel." I'm like, sorry, it doesn't work that way. At least
Yeah.
not in my head. I'm like, I don't care how veteran a player is. He's
Yeah.
going to take some time to gel, especially when you have to gel in a defense like ours. It's just give us like 4 or 5 more games, and then this is not the Kansas City game of last year where we're like, hey, we're late in the season, we're still having communication problems this week too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Relic asked if I was going to the Ireland game too, and that was the plan. But if you haven't been following my adventures on Twitter of life with my mom, you should check them out because we're having good times in the Lohman household right now. We bought a new house today so she can move in with me, and we're having lots of fun.
see, there the
It's
adventures of
life
a
and
dad.
watching, so that's all I'm gonna say.
Exactly. It's right at this point. Just even if we don't win, at least score a bunch. I
Yeah.
just ask for a good game, and like
Yeah.
well, I
I
think
just
I told my
want to
mom and my
end the
wife
game.
this.
Look, I want to win. I'm not going to lie. I want to win. I'm super competitive, but I hate winning when you look like the end of the season where you almost look like you gave up or you weren't trying or
Yes.
everybody was angry. I hate that more than anything. It's one thing if you lose and you gave it your best, and you tried your hardest. I mean, but if you don't even look like you're trying, I mean, that's really hard as a fan to even swallow, and especially for a fan base like us. I don't speak for other fans, but for me, I feel like you get so invested in all of these guys. You're behind them,
Yeah.
you're cheering for them, you're personally invested in them, and yeah, and you want to see them. Look, I don't. I fully believe the players are just as frustrated, probably more frustrated than the fans are. I don't think any of the players are sitting around and like we showed them, what was that stupid shit last year about Broderick Jones? And like he was going to not play because he was on the wrong side or something. I don't believe that for a minute. I think these guys are out there trying their hardest. And, sometimes things just don't go your way. And as Relic said, at least we are not the Browns. And that is the truth. Or apparently the Bengals this year.
Yeah, it's rough all around. There's a lot of teams that are
It's a
still
weird
struggling.
year so
So
far. Unless you're the Eagles, I
it
mean,
is.
it's been a weird season to start off. So it will be interesting to see
Uh,
who winds up hot and who is not.
and I just want to put this week behind us. That's it because it happened. It was frustrating while it happened, but at least it's gone, and we only have a loss at the beginning of a season to show
Yeah.
for it. At
Put
least
it
there's
behind
that.
us with a big ass whooping on the Patriots. That's always nice to see. And hopefully that
That
helps
would
to
be
get us
wonderful.
like right back into the swing of things. Do you know what I mean? That feeling of like, oh, here we go. I'm sure this will
Oh,
happen. Maybe Jamar Chase will request a trade and end up with the Steelers. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure he wants to come. Look, I'm not even saying he doesn't want to come play for like us as a team. I don't think we can afford Jamar Chase.
and let's wait. Let's get our first $100 million wide receiver catching consistent
Yeah,
footballs before we talk about going and getting another one.
right.
Okay,
Well,
the current situation hasn't settled.
I gotta say, like, I don't want to wind up in the situation Cincinnati's in where you can only pay 3 players because of all the money you're giving your wide receivers and your quarterback. I mean, we saw last year that wasn't enough to win. So
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that is very apparent you have turned salary cap off on
yeah.
Madden a couple times too many.
Yeah. All right, Zac, if you could send a message out to one person in the Steelers organization and tell them you really need to give them to give it their all for this Patriots game, who would it be? Who do you
Um,
need to see turn it up this week?
I need Pat Meyer to reach down to whatever he has in and be real with Broderick Jones.
Yeah.
Because I think it's not a one thing to correct it, but I trust the other 4 guys to correct it either on their own or through tape. I need someone to get through to Broderick because, like I said, there was boredom in
Yeah.
his play. There was a lackadaisical. And when someone is falling out of love with football and you're watching it happen in front of you, I don't want that to be the case here.
Yeah.
So that's who I would say right now. You have so much impact on how this goes.
Yeah.
So come on, Pat. I don't know if you have it in you, but if you do, find it.
Yeah. You got to believe he does. You got to believe he has it in him. And you got to
Exactly.
believe these guys can do it, right? Because what's the alternative is not very good. So you got to hope that they do. I got to say, mine is really, just in total that run defense. Like they took a step forward. I think we really need to see that unit take a whole nother step forward this week and really be able to kind of show that they can shut down not a very good run game by the Patriots, but that they have what it takes. Maybe this is the confidence booster they need. The Patriots run game isn't that strong. Maybe they can shut it down. Maybe this helps make them feel like, okay, we can do this, and reminds them, of how it could be. And that helps moving into the rest of the season because we need something. We need a spark.
Exactly. And I don't even need it to be huge. I'll take a 17-13. I'll take win. Win
Just
gritty, win ugly, just whatever you got to do.
Win. Yeah.
Oh,
Final thoughts, Zac?
Thank goodness that we get to put this behind us because I get to stop watching tape of a game that the second I knew I was gonna have to watch tape on it, I'm like, I have to watch this again.
Yeah.
So I want to start watching Patriot tape now.
Yeah. I agree with you. Anything but that. That was miserable. All right, guys, if you've joined us tonight and chimed in, we really appreciate it. Please do us a favor and like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here on YouTube. Also, follow both of us on X as well as the podcast page on X. And if you're catching the show after the fact, let us know your thoughts about the loss last week and the upcoming game against the New England Patriots. And we will see you all soon. Thank you.
LeeAnn and Zac would like to thank you for tuning in to the Steel City Huddle podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss a thing.